Good morning. I look forward to practicing the All Good One's Easy Meditation with you. These are open Dzogchen teachings which comprise a quick and easy path to enlightenment. I'm going to take a moment to introduce myself. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. I gotta make sure the microphone's working right. There we go. For more than 30 years, I spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not invite you to subscribe and ring the notification bell. If you are courageous, think back to the dark days of junior high, when a man with a potbelly and a whistle led your PE or physical education class, demanding that first you warm up, then you exercise, and then you cool down. We're going to do something very similar. We're going to, since the view of reality that supports letting go is the first fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path, we're going to practice Mahayoga's wisdom warm-up. Now, there are lots of people who are really into elitism and control, and they'll tell you these are special teachings for special people. But the late head of the Nyingma order, Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, taught these as open teachings, as did forgot his name. Oh well, let's move on. Please chant with me. Rather than indulge or controlling tendencies with all these effective visualization, emotion, magic, and belief, we could just recite these wise words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Let us sidestep the rigidity that confuses metaphors with statements literal, and relax into the flexibility that savors the chance explaining metaphors as similes. And that concludes the disclaimer. We're going to get right into it. The Buddha was fond of organizing reality in terms of the four bases of mindfulness. Those would be the circumstantial, the physical, the interpersonal, and the mental. We're going to begin now with the circumstantial. Please chant with me. May we see how all circumstances or lots could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this body or form. We're using the verb melt as a metaphor of impermanence. We are using the verb absorb as a metaphor of interdependence. And just as some might use fire to fight fire, we're going to use self-centeredness to transcend self-centeredness. Why all this figurative language? Because all complex animals on this planet have evolved to think symbolically. Our distant ancestors first perceived, and then over time they began recalling past perceptions and imagining future perceptions. And that became the armature of the mind. Weird, isn't it? So we're going to take all these words and coalesce them down to just 6 syllables that we're going to recite silently and mentally during our inhalation and our exhalation. May we feel how all bodies or forms could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this communication or speech. May we hear how all interpersonal speech could be as impermanent and interdependent as if it could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this mind. May we feel how all perceiving, emoting, intending, thinking, recalling, and imagining minds could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into our vast empty void. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although tantalizing to the eye could be not graspable to the hand. We, having completed wisdom's warm-up, we now turn to the 7th and 8th folds of the Buddha's Eightfold Path, which could be described as anti-yogas, mindfulness, and meditation. The most efficient way to authentically practice mindfulness is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the demonstrative pronoun this during the inhalation. Now let us view things through the lens of neuroscience. Doing so induces our cerebral cortex to stop ignoring our sympathetic nervous system, no less cock-blocking it, and instead to cooperate with it. This sympathetic nervous system is found in the middle third, vertically speaking, of our spinal cord. The sympathetic nervous system has evolved to help us perceive in a very special way, to help us perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. But perceive what? Perceive sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, including emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. We evolved to perceive entire spectrum of phenomena, from the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. I'm not going to lie to you, this could feel overwhelming. Which begs the question, what are we to do with that which we notice? In a word, meditate. But a one-word answer is pretty cryptic, so allow me to flesh this out for you. The most efficient way to authentically meditate is to silently, mentally, and passively recite the one-syllable verb ease during each exhalation. Through the lens of neuroscience, this induces the cerebral cortex to stop ignoring, no less undermining, our parasympathetic nervous system and instead cooperate with it. This parasympathetic nervous system is found within both the lower third as well as the upper third of our spinal cord. This parasympathetic nervous system has evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. And now we are ready to meditate. However, how are we going to time our meditation? For there is the fear within all of us that we, like a modern-day Rip Van Winkle, could fall into a deep trance and squander the rest of our lives in it. Well, sometimes folks use a timer on their smartphone, but smartphones can lose their charge, get lost, broken, or even stolen by people with big guns and small penises wearing polyester uniforms. This brings me to Mudra Anu Yoga's energy work, which not only helps us to keep track of the duration of our meditation, but for those of us who are neurodivergent is a fun form of methodical stimming, if that makes sense. I like to call this Bengali crease counting, and it's kind of a big hot mess. Basically, we are going to use our knuckles to collect 4 collections of 8 sets of 12 rounds. That is ridiculous. How are we going to do that? Well, let's begin with a round. A round is simply one, in this context, is one inhalation followed by one exhalation. Just like a set of scissors has 2 blades, a round has an in-breath and an out-breath. And of course, what we're doing during the in-breath and the out-breath. So how are we going to count to 12 rounds on just 4 fingers and 1 thumb? During our inhalation, when we are silently and mentally reciting the demonstrative pronoun this, we can advance the tip of our right thumb. So, beginning with our little finger, moving our way to our index finger, and please practice with me, both physically, silently, and mentally, for the next few minutes. Congratulations, you now know how to count to 12 on just 4 fingers and 1 thumb. Oh, how impressed your neighbors shall be. But that begs the question, how do we count 8 sets of 12 repetitions? And the answer, the solution to that dilemma is our left hand. Once again, beginning with the little finger, making our way to our index finger, we can count to 8 sets. Our first set of 8 repetitions, our second set of 8 repetitions, our third set, our fourth set, our fifth set, our sixth set, our seventh set, and our eighth set. Now, how do we gather 4 collections of 8 sets of 12 repetitions? And the answer is we play with our knuckles. Now, at this point, you're probably overwhelmed, and that's fine. Give yourself permission to have a learning curve. Come to these live streams once every 12 hours or so, and within a week or two, you'll have this whole cycle of techniques mastered. It's very easy. Anyone who tells you otherwise is trying to sell you something. So let us begin with our first knuckle. Let's turn our attention to the great knuckle at the base of our right little finger. Let us rest it upon the tip of our left little finger, and then rest both these hands palms up in our lap while our thumbs happily count creases. So resting the great knuckle at the base of our right little finger. Let's continue. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever experience of our lower abdomen you might have noticed during our inhalation can now feel as if it was as non-graspable as a real or imagined syllable comprised only of green light. Now, this ease Allow me to remind you that vulnerability is so crucial to mindfulness that we are reminded of it in iconography. Consider the All Good One's Sporting and Tantric Union, known by many names including Kuntu Zangpo Yabyam. Their nudity reminds us of the vulnerability crucial to mindfulness. Allow me to remind you that the moment you have a specific question about Buddhist meditation, or philosophy, or application, to type your question in great detail in the chat window. If you've just joined us, Gyatso, welcome aboard. Now let us rest the great knuckle at the base of our right ring finger upon the tip of our left ring finger, and set these two hands palms up in our lap. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever navel region of our abdomen we might have noticed during our previous inhalation can now begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a syllable tram comprised only of gold light. consider again these two practitioners of Ati Yoga, or Dzogchen, sporting naked in tantric union. In Buddhist paintings, they are typically portrayed as translucent. And this reminds us of relaxing into the non-graspable nature of mind, which is a fancy way of saying, as we breathe in, whatever we perceive, emote, intend, reason, recall, and imagine seems quite solid and permanent and defining. But as we relax into our exhalation, those exact same phenomena seem less solid, less permanent, and less defining. I must wet my whistle. Let us, I'm going to make sure that I'm doing this in a manner that is coordinated. Let us rest the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger upon the tip of our left middle finger. Then rest both these hands palms up in our lap, whilst our thumbs happily count creases. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever chest we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable and impermanent and non-defining as a syllable whom comprised only of blue light. You know, I think it would have been more skillful if I said, as we relax into our exhalation, whatever chest we might have noticed during our previous inhalation, that would have been better, can now feel as if it was as non-graspable as a syllable whom comprised only of blue light. That would have been much more skillful. Let us consider the iconography of Kuntu Zangpo Yabyum. Their beauty reminds us of the highest love, which is spontaneous and uncontrived. Which is why the late Tulku Thondup insisted that the highest love was not the product of active focus or active analysis, for those things stimulate our amygdala, the seat of aggression and anxiety. Au contraire, the late Tulku Thondup taught that the product of I forgot the Tibetan word, it'll come back to me. Of Rigpa and Dzogchen. Of noticing and releasing was that it calms the cranky and aggressive amygdala, stimulates the anterior cingulate gyrus, the seat of empathy and compassion and love, which is the source of our true beauty. Let us rest the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger upon the tip of our left index finger and set these two hands palms up in our lap. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever crown we might have noticed during our inhalation can now begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a syllable Om comprised only of white light. When considering Kuntu Zangpo Yabyun, let us remember that his stability reminds us of centeredness, or I should say the stability with which he who is the color of the sky sits, and the abandon with which she who is the color of a cloud sports, reminds us not of scattered spontaneity, but rather the centered spontaneity, which is the perfection of right effort, wherein our choices, utterances, and deeds flow with the effortless, or from the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity. This is the spontaneous and effortless fringe benefit of a regular practice of mindfulness and meditation. We're going to shift gears now from silent meditation to mantra meditation. The process is simple. During our inhalations, silently and mentally we recite noticing this. During our exhalation, we physically relax as best we can, whilst chanting this mantra 3 times per breath. Now, if this is your first time hanging out with me or hanging out with me, give yourself permission to have a learning curve. If you want for this first, so I guess I should actually illustrate this. So here's how we can keep track of it. On our right hand, we can count 4 breaths. So take a breath in First recitation of the mantra, second recitation of the mantra, third recitation of the mantra, breathe in. Oopsie. First, second, third recitations of the mantra, breathe in. First, second, third recitations of the mantra, breathe in. And you guessed it, first, second, and third recitations of the mantra. And that's a useful tool. Well, I've got Jumbo Cam on. For this set of 12 mantras, I recommend resting the great knuckles of the right hand upon the tips, all four tips of the left hand, simultaneously. It just works better that way mathematically. It's my intention that, let's just move forward. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. So, the goal is not to hopefully relax while I'm pitching the tone down. Au contraire, the goal is to relax, and as I relax, the tone automatically pitches down. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 And now, let us rest the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger upon the tip of our left. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 So this is whatever happens to cartwheel across the stage of our mind. Be it a sight, a sound, a sensation, a flavor, a scent, or the like. Be it an emotion, an intention, a thought, a memory, or an imagining. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. Let us rest the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger upon the tip of our left middle finger. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 Let us rest the great knuckle at the base of our right ring finger upon the tip of our left ring finger. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hum. 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 Let us rest the great knuckle at the tip. Let's try this again. Let us rest the great knuckle at the base of our right little finger upon the tip of our left little finger. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hum. 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 Well, we began with wisdom's warm-up. We did our main workout, which was mindfulness and meditation. And now we're going to conclude with Mahayoga's compassionate cool-down, for loving kindness comprises 50% of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. I practice Proto-Buddhism, which means it's very, 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 very simple and quick and easy and effective. There was a time when the only rules of morality were simply kindness, simply practicing the Eightfold Path. There was a time when I was fastidious about the hundreds of rules pertaining to refuge, renunciation, compassion, and wisdom, but the writings of the great Karma Chakme steered me on the path of simplicity. Let's continue. Please let us chant the opening disclaimer. Can you tell I'm the stepson of a lawyer? Rather than indulge or controlling tendencies with our follies of active visualization, emotion, magic, and belief, we could just recite these kind words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Let us therefore sidestep the rigidity that confuses metaphors with statements literal, and relax into the flexibility that savors the chance explaining metaphors as similes. So just like before, we're going to play with the 4 bases of mindfulness. Quick reminder, the 4 bases of mindfulness will be the mental, the interpersonal, the physical, and the circumstantial. We're going to begin with the mental. So by the way, quick reminder, we use the word may not because we're praying to real or imagined celestial entities, but because we are using words to guide our intention, to strengthen the neural pathways responsible for empathy and compassion and love. Together. May all minds of all beings know be as peacefully enlightened as the mind of a real or imagined Buddha symbolized by a clay one syllable seed or bija mantra. We're going to take all these words and compress them into just 6 syllables that we're going to recite silently and mentally during our inhalation. During our exhalation, again, we're going to physically relax as best we can while chanting the 12-syllable mantra 3 times per breath. As we do this, as we relax into the recitation, it could feel like wisdom blessings were leaving through our pores and pervading and transforming all beings of all worlds, real or imagined. Let us begin by resting the great knuckle at the base of our right little finger upon the tip of our left little finger in our lap. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Masiri Hung. 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 One has only to watch the news to understand that there is sexism and racism and homophobia and classism, that there is fascism and jingoism and genocide across the globe. I think humanity could do with a bit of the old wisdom and love. How about you? Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Masiri Hung. 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 The mental morality of kind intention is the second fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. May all relationships, all speech of all beings know be as joyfully loving as a real or imagined Buddha speech symbolized by a multisyllabic mantra. Let us rest the great knuckle at the base of our right ring finger upon the tip of our left ring finger in our lap. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Masiri Hung. 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 The interpersonal morality of kind communication is the third fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. May all bodies or forms of all beings so enjoy the beautiful health represented by Buddha statuary, depicting the blissful body of a real or imagined Yadaman archetype of enlightenment such as Kuntu Zangpo. Let us rest the great knuckle at the base of our right and middle finger upon the tip of our left and middle finger in our lap. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 The physical morality of kind conduct is the fourth fold of the Buddha's eightfold path. It was the late Karma Jigme who insisted the essence of all morality is simply nonviolence. The essence of the refuge vows is simply, and I'm paraphrasing this here, to rely upon the example and teachings and students of the Buddha. The essence of the Bodhisattva vows are simply to share whatever positive energy we have generated with others as we are doing now. And that the essence of Tantric Samaya, and I paraphrase, is simply to rely upon teachers, example, instructions, and students. We come now to the final chant of this morning's session. May all circumstances or lots of all beings now have the same fortune or boon as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land of Vati. Let us rest the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger upon the tip of our left index finger, in our lap. Om Ahum Benzo Guru Me Maziri Hung. 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 In conclusion, the circumstantial morality of kind commerce, not being a Karen, forever trying to dominate individuals, not being a Chad, forever trying to dominate institutions, is the fifth fold of the Buddha's eightfold path, to replace that competition and cruelty with cooperation and kindness. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the fourth be with you always.